I've had a lot of questions this week, and it's nice to have a place to get back to you all at once. Let's get started so we don't waste any time here. Okay. Let's see. First question is, what about tracking the ball all the way to the catcher? How do you see the benefit? All right. First thing I can say about that is, let's get rid of this. This was from the last. Oops. Sorry about that. First thing is that this is something that we see a lot of major league players do. We see them follow the ball all the way back into the catcher's glove. So they're sitting there hitting and they follow it back into the glove. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think one of the questions that comes up, because when you do follow it all the way back, you wonder how the heck you ever hit it. That's what it happened to me. For example, I'd be hitting in a game, and when I would just try to follow what other players would do, and I saw that they would watch the ball all the way back into the glove, and I'd follow it into the glove, and I just thought, how the heck am I going to hit that thing? So let me show you what I mean. So here's the plate. Okay, and so let's say these are your feet. All right, and then you see in the ball coming in here as it's coming by. All right, so you're eventually going to see it go into the catcher's glove. You're going to see it actually hit the catcher's glove here. So that this point right here becomes the last place that you see it. Now, that's a problem. It is, because though it looks like to the outside world that, boy, you got a good look at it and a good line on it, and there is some value to actually seeing where the catcher caught it. You can look where the catcher's set up. So doing it once or twice isn't necessarily a bad thing. But you generally have a sense of where the catcher is anyways. And one of the things that I did is for example, let's say the pitcher is giving signs, and he says, yes, no, yes. So what do you think that's going to be? Well, it's a fastball, but he didn't like the location, and he changed the location. Okay, so something like that. So, and you get a sense. I mean, I can look kind of down at the plate, and I can see where the catcher is. What happens is if he moves away, what I would do is I'd be standing there like this, and I can kind of look kind of down here, and I can see where the catcher is, and then I'm looking up. Okay, if the pitcher gets off the rubber, he steps off, I generally want to turn my head toward the field and act like I have no idea what's going on, because I want them to be consistent. I want them to go and throw it, unless, let's say I don't want him to throw in or I don't want him to throw away. Then maybe I want to peek and say, hey, I saw that you were actually sitting outside. Then they might change up. I don't know. But you're going to have to see every time. Okay, so that's one case. The problem with hitting, though, is you need to know exactly where contact is going to be. You need to rehearse where contact is going to be, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So what I do, and there's some of the drills that I do, what I would rather you do is, as you see the ball come in, I would rather you freeze frame it in your mind's eye. I'd rather you freeze it where you want to hit it. Now, it's past you. It's gone past you, and you don't see it anymore. So, but the benefit is in your mind, it's there still. So what you can do, the ball's already a strike or a ball or whatever it is, and you can place your bat out there and feel where you wanted it. So that way you can go and replicate, and you know where you're going to go, because when you get your timing is from release to that spot. Release to that spot. Release to the spot. Okay? It's pretty much that simple. You can snap to the beat of a song. I'm not telling you, I've seen some young players young people, let's just say that, young people who play video games. And I'm trying to get the timing on something else, on a video game versus the timing in a baseball game. And they're way better than me. Yet I can hit better, okay, or when I was playing. So does that mean I have better timing? No. I think we just don't relate our timing in the same place. So I think following the ball all the way back, sometimes what happens is that you don't get a sense for where you want to hit it. And the most important thing is you have to not miss your pitch when you get it. So you need to rehearse. I mean, how are you going to get somewhere if you don't know where you're going? Right? You need to get that barrel there. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're playing soft toss. So you gotta let's do the overhead view. Okay, so here's the batting cage. All right, so here's the batting cage, and then here's the plate. Okay, square it off, and then you're standing right here, and you're going to stride, and here's someone with an L screen. Okay, and the person's right there. All right, so you're standing here, and they throw the ball like that. Okay, every round. I mean, this is about 15 feet. Okay. So our timing is really good at 15 feet. I mean, we get some real good timing about that range. And so what happens is that you're going to pick a spot out front where you like it, or a little deeper, wherever it is. And maybe you don't hit the first one well. You should, but that's for a whole other question. But as soon as you hit a ball hard somewhere, the best thing to do is to replicate, is hit it again and again and again and again. And if you can do that, then what happens is, because look, why would you want to hit a pitch at the same depth in different locations? Why would you want to go bang, 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 bang all over the place with the same depth? And if a guy's throwing underhand, the line is pretty consistent, okay? So you don't want it, as a hitter, you don't want to be, all right, let's take another little square here. So you're hitting. I always act like a left-hander because I am a left-hander. I hit lefty. So the guy's throwing the ball in there. All right, so here comes the ball. It's taking a little arc to come and get you. And let's say I just have this theory that pretty much every round we have such a good sense of timing in soft toss that every round that we come in, we're going to get 5 or 6 balls if we're hitting with a group. Every round, you have a sense of where to hit it, and you pretty much hit at every pitch at a depth that's similar to the other ones. Okay, so as soon as you hit this ball hard, you want to take note where it's going, and let's say you hit it out over here. Okay. So you hit it that direction. Okay. Well, you just have the feel now for hitting it over there. So the best thing you can do, assuming that you're going to hit it at the same depth pretty much every time in soft toss, because your timing will be so good, you're better off going repeat, 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 repeat. Okay? So it's important because you need to know the depth. And by knowing the depth, you want to be able to replicate and put the same swing consistently over and over and over. And then, if in the game, because remember, this is just practice, because then in the game, if it gets a little deeper, well, then you're going to go that way. And if you're a little anxious and it gets out front here, well, then you may pull it. Okay? But your goal is to hit it wherever it feels good that day. Wherever it feels good that day. I mean, one day you may come out and everything's opposite field. Another day you come out and it's up the middle. And shoot, some days up the middle is the other way for you, and vice versa. Up the middle is just like you're pulling the ball. Okay, so let's get to another question here. Let's see if we can bring another question up on the screen. All right. Okay. A young player from San Diego says, a left-hander or as a left-hander, I'm having trouble seeing lefties. Do you have any suggestions? Okay, this is a common thing. Okay. Now, the reason for this is that left-handers see more right-handers. I mean, there's more right-handed pitchers out there, and so, you know, if you're hitting, let's divide this up. See if you can see this. Okay, so here's the plate. All right, so you're a lefty. Let's say you're a left-handed hitter, just like this question is, and you have a pitcher. Okay, here's the bottom line. The pitcher is 60 feet, 6 inches away. Okay? Now, in that distance, okay, by the time he releases the ball, it's about somewhere, part way. It's about 54, 55 feet, somewhere around that range. Like I said last week, the hardest thing you can do is try to time the ball over a larger distance. The farther it is away, the harder it is to synchronize the pitch. So now we're trying to time the ball over 54 feet. Okay, now, let's say that's a right-hander. Now we got a left-hander. It's coming in. Now, this would look like the ball is coming from a complete extreme angle. But what happens is that it's so far away. Here's the pitcher's mound. Here's home plate. All right, and so you're standing here. Okay, it's so far away that by the time it travels, okay, it's released here. It's released. It's coming. By the time it gets close to you, it's coming from the front of you. It's not coming from the side of you. It's not crossfiring. Now, the reason why left-handers have a hard time against lefties is, number one, they can't see. They don't see enough lefties. Right-handers see more right-handers, so they're comfortable with it. Hitting it's an optical challenge. It's visual performance. So you have to start getting used to the lines that the ball is coming in at. Okay? And when you see a line come in, all right, let's try to draw this line. So if you're seeing a line come in like this, and you're always used to seeing this, right? It's a completely different angle. And if you're used to drawing your lines from over here, now you have to draw one this way, you don't quite know what's a strike right out of his hand. What if you're used to a pitcher, as soon as he releases the ball, if you were to throw a ball, immediately at release, if you were to throw a ball 15 feet outside, by the time it was right here, you'd quit on it. You'd literally quit on it. All right? You'd quit because you would know exactly. You could see right away that ball wasn't coming in, okay? So it's important to realize a couple things. First of all, it's actually coming basically from straight on. That's the reality. And there are some things that you can do to help yourself out. It's all a matter of perspective. Okay, so let me just get up here real quick and show you. Okay. Now, when I'm hitting, one of the things that I want to do is, even though a left-hander may look like he's coming from here, and everything looks up and in and it ends up low and away, that's the perspective a left-hander has, because he's just not used to this angle. He's used to a ball from over here. Right away, he can tell, whether it's a strike or not. I mean, literally, you can tell almost 4 or 5 feet out of the hand whether it's going to be an inch or two outside, because you can project a line from the release point to contact, one that's familiar. And so, something that you can do is get soft toss from an extreme angle from the left side and start getting used to it. Getting front soft toss. That's one thing that will help. The other thing, and probably the most important thing you need to understand, is that you are on the side of the ball. Okay, when I played for the New York Yankees, I played with a guy that I'm sure most of you know. His name is Don Mattingly. And I used to watch old Donnie walk around the clubhouse like this. And he walks sideways around the clubhouse. I played with him for about 5 years, and each year I learned something new about that, but he did that religiously. And the primary reason he told me is that he wanted to feel sideways. He didn't want to feel like he was rotating off. He never wanted to feel like he was going to pull off the ball. So because the whole time while you are syncing up the pitcher, you are sideways. Okay? Until the ball's about 15 feet from you, first you filter out his motion, you releases it, and you stride, and you land. You land slightly bent, flexed, okay? You have to land slightly bent, just like a pole vault. As soon as it hits in the box, it slightly bends so that you can continue to get your forward energy into it. And then it's always wanting to get straight. But until you fully are ready to actually start to rotate and unload this core motor, so that forward transfer starts to build energy because this wants to get straight. But what it's doing in the meantime is this X factor, the twist in your spine, is starting to build up energy. Okay, so you have all this twisting and stuff, but if you have the perspective that you are sideways, and one of the abstract things I used to think about is imagine there was a constant flow of baseballs coming through. I mean, like it's running water almost. It's almost like a stream coming, on the side of me. Okay, so it's on the, even a ball inside is on the side of me. Now, one thing I see players do, and I'm gonna turn a little off. I'm gonna offset this. Well, I'll offset it a lot. Okay, I see this more often than not. I'll see a player, and what he's doing is I'll see players this close to a ball, literally this close, and because the batting cage is that direction, they assume that what they're supposed to be doing is hitting it in the longest direction of the cage, so they can see the flight of the ball. That makes sense. Problem is that's not what you want to do. When you look at a ball, you want to hit it the way you would hit it in the game. Now, when I see a ball, anywhere, I want to attack it and get past it. I want to get past it. Now, even though when a ball's out front, I don't necessarily get past it, but if I make it, this is a little abstract, but if I make my direction this way, because if it's out front, I'm going to pull it, see? So now my direction is this way, I am getting past it. Even though I'm not physically getting past it, if you draw your perpendicular line sideways here, but you draw your line this way in the direction I'm going to hit it, well, I get past it, okay? What you don't want to do is you don't want to quit and go all on, okay? You don't want to just quit. And that's what guys do. They'll place the ball. They're already on the side of the ball. Instead of going with that and continuing to pass that ball, because if a ball is this close to you, you want to get past it and hit it further deeper, a lot more deep. And that ball should go that direction. Okay? So let me show you what I'm talking about. And what I was saying was, even if a ball is inside, it's on the side of you. Okay? Even if it's inside and it gets super deep, right? If it got real deep, it would go the opposite field. Kevin Seitzer was probably the best I've ever seen, other than maybe Paul Molitor, and he would even agree to that. But Kevin Seitzer was amazing. He was a right-handed hitter, and he could hit that 3-4 hole, so opposite field, with the best of them. I mean, he could literally, and I'm, as a catcher, I'm seeing him hit up and in pitches, low and in pitches, low and away pitches, up and away pitches, right down the middle. I'm seeing him hit that 3-4 hole almost every time. And then as soon as we kind of bunch that hole there or bring guys over, he'd pull the ball. But what he did is it's just wherever he hit the ball. See, you go the other way and you pull the ball, not because you're trying to, not by just the angle of your bat, but it's not in or out. You don't pull an inside pitch and go the other way just because it's outside. You pull a pitch because of how far it travels. If it's out front still, then you pull it. Even if it's outside. Shoot, if it's outside, one of my home run pitches was low and away, about one ball off the plate and about at my knees. Now you say, well, how was that a home run pitch? Well, it was a home run pitch because it was the most predictable pitch. I knew it was coming, so I would draw my line out there and I would try to make that pitch right down the middle. Now, you say, well, how do you do that? You can put balls in your zone because you were on the side of it and you have a line that you're making. So it's important to think of you have to create a box for your zone. Taking a little bit more time than I wanted to on this, but let me just show you, because I'm going to go into some other things here. So here's your feet, and here's the plate. It's not to scale. Okay, now, your weight shift, weight transfer, creates a line of energy, a line of transfer. And then you're going to look for your zone. So you look for a zone. Maybe you're looking for that pitch, and you're zoning in on contact right there, okay? And that's what I would do. I would zone in for contact right there. And when I get my pitch, if it got a little bit further, then I'd go the other way. If it went there, I'd go the other way. If I hit it here, I'd probably pull it. All right? If the ball ended up, okay, so what ended up happening is I'm drawing a line here, okay? That is me drawing a line before the pitch is thrown. So I have what I believe to be the line of my weight transfer here, another line that I'm visualizing. So that creates the framework of the box. And then you have another parallel line. So you got 3 parallel lines, and this is the actual ball. So the ball, as it comes in, creates another parallel line, creates a box or a triangular box, if you can see a 3D model like that. But the point is that you have enough parallel lines to where you can create a zone and a feel of a zone. But it also gives you the sense that you are running parallel to the ball, okay? So here's what that means. So if you're running parallel to the ball, all right, and that ball ends up being inside, if you can see it in your mind's eye, or in this case, if you're a left-hander facing lefties, if you're worried because everything feels like it's up and in, okay, if you can start having perspective that it's not coming at you. See, because if I'm hitting like this and I feel like the ball's coming at me, all right, first of all, my angle of approach isn't going to be very good, all right, and then I'm not going to really see anything other than the ball's coming at me. So I'm not going to see the ball coming on the side of me, because I would rather envision that the ball's on the side of me, even if it grazes the side of my body. Because that creates this feeling that wherever I go, I can get on the side of it, even if I have to hit it like this, all right? So that's one way to look at it. Feel like the ball's on the side of you, and it gives you perspective. Now, if you're wondering what the heck is he talking about, I'm going to give you another example, and it may crystallize what I'm saying. It may crystallize out what I just explained. Okay. Now, imagine you're hitting, and we're talking about a perspective. You're feeling uphill. I'm going to get my ass kicked. Okay? So and plus you're feeling like the ball's coming right at you. The ball's coming at me, and I'm uphill. Okay, so it's like this. I have no perspective of a zone, okay? But if I'm on the side of it, And if I'm on top of it, even if the ball's this high, I'm still on top of it. I'm looking down on it. So if I'm looking down on it, it gives me perspective that I'm not in it. It's not coming at me. I'm on the side of it. I'm outside of the situation. So, like, I'm seeing the ball right here. I'm on top of it. Even if I get down here, I'm still on top of it. And that's one way to push every ball that's being thrown, to push it down so that you're on top of it. And so if you're on top of it and on the side of it, then even a ball that's coming that looks like it's crossfiring you, you can still let this thing travel. So the best advice I can give you, when I see a ball like that, I just got to hit it. Okay. Now, do you notice how I pause? Because, mature hitters are able to hold their posture. They're able to swing and then hold their posture whichever way they were holding it, initially. Now I'm pinching my posture here. Now look, I began not like this pinch, but like this, okay? And then as I rotate, I want to stay in the same place so that I'm rotating around a single axis. I have to change my posture, but orient it the same, okay? All right, so, and then finally, the last piece of advice I would give you is that I would do as much as I could to start seeing every ball from an extreme angle so that you can start getting perspective of it. Because it's, like I said, it's really coming from the front. It's coming from the front, it's on the side of you, and you're on top of it. Okay, so you have enough information there so that you can let the ball travel, you can form a line and not be scared of it like it's coming at you. Because that's the feel. When lefty's having a hard time, he's pretty much feeling the ball's coming at him. And you're under it, it's coming at you. And but from a right-hander, a lefty sees it on the side of him, sees it on top of it, hopefully. So anyways, hope that answers the question. It takes a change of perspective. Every adjustment, it takes a change of perspective. And it's very helpful if you start thinking things in those terms. I've worked with players, college-age players, and, they haven't, in my generation, we grew up playing outside. There was no computers then and no VHS even. We had a color TV. We actually had a remote control that went clink, clink, and the dog, as it ran in the house, jiggled its chain, and it would change the channel and turn the volume up. I mean, that's kind of funny as a fact. But the point is we did, and we did a lot of things that kids that they don't do these days, and they're missing out on experiences that I use to draw from in order to make adjustments, to think of things a little differently. I've asked players, and this is not a knock on anyone, because if you haven't experienced something, if you ask me to do something I didn't know how to do, I'd look pretty silly at first, but you know what? I don't care if I look silly, because if I'm learning something, then I'm learning it. And there's always a learning curve, okay? But, for example, if, here, let me just, since I'm using it right here, you got a sledgehammer, okay? If I'm using a sledgehammer, if you don't know how to use a sledgehammer and you, bam, you let it fire. I use a sledgehammer my whole life splitting wood, We'd heat the home by splitting wood, and we had heaters, but it was always nice to have a fire. But we would chop trees, and we were always in the canyon, which is why we used, this is a great bat right here. It's called the sledge bat. And what it does is it intuitively gives you the sense of, this bat is built like an M110, a bat that young professionals use because of the weight and the balance. I actually have one right here. I have a bat right here that I used my first year in the big leagues. is 32 inches, which was really short, and 33 ounces. So you got 3 slashes on that. I was taking a look at it. It was unbreakable. This thing's heavy and super balanced, okay? And it was funny because Frank Robinson said he was a mentor of mine, just completely transformed my career. But Frank said, when I remember going to Cleveland and or going to Baltimore and playing those guys, and he'd be right behind the batting cages. I'd walk up, and I was hitting well with this thing, and he grabs it out of my hands and says, "Son, I wouldn't defend myself in the backyard, let alone hit with this thing. He goes, what are you using this little thing?" He was just trying to tease me. But think about it. Look at Barry Bonds. He used a bat like this, and he choked up. Okay? So what's important is, like I was talking about using a sledgehammer, what's important about a sledgehammer is that you have precision, and then if you don't swing and actually hit the wedge, hit it perpendicular like this, if you hit it off in this direction or that direction, you would focus in on the wedge and be shorter and do a little shorter stroke to make sure that you hit it. In other words, that would be your adjustment. So that was an experience that I had, that I knew intuitively that if I was going to make an adjustment when I'm hitting, and this sledge bat's awesome. I'll have them on the website soon, but what it does is it gives you the sense and the feel of hitting the ball with something heavy, and that sledge feeling. You can't take a bad swing with this thing. It intuitively gives you the feeling that you're hitting it with a sledge, that you want to transfer through it, that you don't. Here's what you don't do. You don't quit on it. You don't have the instinct to. You want to hit through it with your weight. Okay? Hitting through a ball is hitting it with your transfer. Right? There are several other things. Okay, but point is, I've shown you a few things, to help you out, but is that to make adjustments, you have to think abstractly. And in the case of a sledgehammer, I've seen young college players literally go and not know how to swing a sledgehammer. Now, that's not, like I said, that's simply because they've never had the opportunity to. Now, they're great athletes and they could do it real well, but they don't have the benefit of having used a sledgehammer. I remember when I was in the minor leagues, one of my teammates, he told me that he had a coach like me that was helping him out. And one of the things that they did was use a sledgehammer. And I know how to do that. So I went home all winter and split wood. So one thing that you do, imagine you have a hammer and a nail. If the nail bends, what do? Well, you look at the nail a little bit. You grab another nail or you straighten it out. And then you look at the nail more intensely and take just enough of a strike, just enough of an arc of a strike, so that you don't bend the nail. You always think shorter and shorter. As a matter of fact, you don't even worry about your mechanics. Listen, if you bend the nail, you're not going to be over-focused on your mechanics. You're going to look at the nail as to which way it's angled, okay? If it's angled like that, well, then you're going to get up here and hit it. If it's angled like this, then you're going to get over here and hit it. So all you do is you look at the nail, all right? Now, what that is, how that relates to hitting, is that you need to look at things. Now, notice it relates to hitting because you're not focused on your mechanics. You're focused on something nice and short and making sure that you strike it and getting your energy into it. Because one thing that young hitters do is they take a lot of energy and they scatter it. And you'll see a player the same size, same weight at the major league level, and he's getting a lot of energy to a fine point. And that's why someone 180 pounds, 5'11", 180 pounds, 6 foot, 180 pounds can hit a ball close to 500 feet. And that same guy in high school or college is hitting it only 380, maybe 400 feet. Well, they're doing that because they're not getting all that energy into the ball, into the fine point. So it's by looking at the situation in a fresh way. Okay? And so as a lefty, when you're working, trying to hit off lefties, you need to be able to look at the perspective. And that means you need to see a lot of balls coming from the left side so that it just becomes the same as when you're hitting off a right-hander. If you think yourself, if you're on top of it and you're on the side of it. Okay, so hope that answered your question. And let's see another question we have here. Let's see. Let me choose another question. Okay, so how important is seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hand? Great question. Okay. I went over this last week a little bit, and let me give you an example. Okay? Now, your eyes track side to side quicker than they do up and down. Okay? So it makes sense that, we're looking at the same latitude that the ball's going to come out on. All right? That makes sense. All right. But the mistake that players make is they try to look in a release area. Now, if you're successful looking at the release point without looking at the person or whatever, because you're actually doing other things, some of the things that I'm telling you about, but you do it subconsciously, you're not even thinking about it, then fine, then don't change anything. But more than often, what players do is something that's very harmful. It's very important to see the ball out of the pitcher's hand, because the sooner you see the ball out of the hand, the more information you're going to get immediately. All right? If you don't see the ball out of the pitcher's hand, you're not going to see it again for another 8 or 10 feet. And by then, it's traveled way too far, and it's on you. And then you're going to end up trying to create a shortcut, and it'll be on you a lot quicker. You don't get the read of where it's coming. And so what happens more than anything, when you don't see the ball out of the pitcher's hand, okay, I'm hitting off a tee right now. And the advantage that I have here is that I can see this ball and I know where it is. So when I take a stride, I stride so that I'm in position to hit this ball. Okay, so I'm standing here. I land in position. Now, what if I took a stride and I'm not in position? See, I'm kind of off the ball. I strided like this. Almost like it was inside pitch. Okay, if I strike so like it's in, boom. Okay, I'm really not in position to hit that as well because I'm not leaning on it. Okay, so I'm out of position. Okay, because I didn't pick the ball up soon enough. One of the drawbacks is that you can get out of position very easily. Okay, so it is very important that you see the ball right out of his hand. I have a lot of videos and instructional videos on this, and it's probably the area that I teach the most is on timing, the ride and the stride. The ride and stride I coined about 16 years ago. Now, the key with the ride and stride is that you do see the ball out of the hand. You do, and you get more information immediately. And what happens is that you want to see the ball, or you see the ball out of his hand because you filter the motion of the pitcher. Real quickly, I'll go over this. Like I said, I went over this last week, but the pitcher has 3 motions. Okay, let me bring this in here. The pitcher's got 3 motions. He has his the slow, deliberate even, okay, it's a rhythm, all right. The second part, this is what screws us up, okay, it's the attack, all right, and I'm not going to write this, but I call it the assholes and elbows. I call it that because no matter what age of player I'm coaching, they always get a kick out of it. Even the parents do, or whether all the way to pro ball, because it's so descriptive. It's just, that's what it looks like. It looks like assholes and elbows coming at you. There's just everything coming at you. And it's a disorienting feeling. It's not a good feeling. And it is during this part, the attack, And the attack is from, okay, so you got the slow part of the motion, and everyone perceives the attack at a different time. So in other words, okay, the guy's going through his motion, and I might see it right there, attack. You might not see it till it's right here. Another person not till here, right? So he doesn't see attack till it's right there. In other words, wherever you perceive the attack, wherever you perceive the assholes and elbows, that's something you need to filter out. As a matter of fact, you need to filter the slow part out. You need to filter the attack out. But one thing that will ring true is that pitcher will be very consistent. Even if he tries to alter his motion, if he does, he'll do it to his peril, because what happens is it's going to screw him up. Pitchers usually just try to keep the same motion. And what I found is that even if a pitcher tried to trick you, and he went here and then he hesitated, and then real quick, there's enough of the motion. There's at some point the pitcher, that is really never going to happen. But if it did happen, they're going to give you enough motion that you're going to see what's going on. Okay, and that's the most important part. Is that all of this part, the first and second part, slow all the way up to, so this would be the assholes and elbows, would be part A of the second thing. Part B here is release. And that's what you focus on. So you want to focus on release. And by knowing release, listen, you could sit there and I don't care if you take an infield, ground ball to third base, the guy comes and feels it, comes up, runs out there, crow hop, release. You can just feel it. You know when release is going to happen. You could snap your fingers to release. And the right and stride utilizes that type of rhythm. And there are a lot of variables that come up, which is why, and most people don't understand the variables, and so they don't teach it. And it's a shame, because it's the most intuitive, instinctual way. We have to be taught to do it another way, to do it without rhythm. Whenever you try to break something apart and make it unnatural, and make it, several moves, as opposed to one flowing move, it's one flow. Assholes and elbows, release, and you attack it. You attack it as hard as you need to, all right? How do you do that? Well, you're watching him all game. You know how hard he throws. You just need to make sure you land, and you want to make the time between when you're synchronizing from release to contact. So you want to synchronize the shortest amount of time. The longer it is, the longer time that you try to synchronize, it's going to be harder to sync. The longer your physical motion is, the harder it is to synchronize your swing lever motion to the ball as well. So to extend the metaphor, I'm going to give you an example. Imagine someone was throwing from center field, and they said, hey, I'm going to throw you a strike from center field, and I'm going to throw it 90 miles an hour, and it'll be as good a pitch to hit as any. All right? So you're hitting, and you see a ball coming from the center field. Okay? So he goes up, he goes in his crow hop, release. All right, so if I time the shortest amount that I can synchronize, which is from release to when I'm going to hit it, okay? So release, okay, does release mean I go? No, it doesn't mean you go. It just depends how hard it is. Because if the guy's throwing 80 miles an hour, it's going to be more like this. Release, hit it, okay? Release. The guy's throwing hard, the guy's throwing about 90, well, that's probably even 95. The guy's throwing from the outfield, you go, release, you're ready, here it comes, over second base. As you're right, you're going forward slightly, you're just barely moving, okay? So it's release, here it comes, getting closer to second base, over the pitcher's mound, gets a little further, and then you go, okay? So you do the least amount. All you're doing, you wait until it gets close, and then you're just going to do the least amount that you can do so you can synchronize it. Now, on the other hand, if you went, okay, so doing a crow hop, release, here it comes, and you do a whole lot. So the more you do, the harder it is to be on time. The more you do, the harder it is to get your swing levers. So seeing the ball is not going to do you a whole lot of good. Now, another thing is, so that I can finish this right here, number 3 is release, to contact. Okay, so you have release to contact, right? That's the time you have to synchronize. So you make your swing as short as possible, and you synchronize that thing. That'll always be the same. I mean, when a pitcher throws you his fastball, you can pretty much go, okay, release, contact. You can feel it. You're watching him. You're watching every game. You know how hard it's coming, okay? So anyways, there's a lot more to, if you don't have the context, that might be harder to understand. But the way you do it, the way you see the ball out of the guy's hand, is that this part right here, these parts, all right, the slow and deliberate rhythm and the attack, or the assholes and elbows, this part needs to be filtered out. Now, I said this last week. I was playing as a player coach, player manager one year, and one of my players, he was hitting in front of me. I was hitting the 4-hole. He was hitting the 3-hole, and he got up and he got all upset. It was a day game. I love day games, but he's complaining and yelling. They have to do something about that advertisement on the center field wall, because all he could see was the hamburger. All he could see was the lettuce and tomato. It was shining and the reflection. So what my comment was, why are you looking at the hamburger? He goes, well, I wasn't looking at the hamburger. I was just looking at the release point, and the hamburger was there. Well, that's not the point. Okay? So here's the pitcher. So you know what? If here's the pitcher, and okay, he's looking here, and here's his glove. All right. I don't know how to really draw that, okay? Okay, whatever. Okay, not very good, huh? Okay, but anyway, he's really super buff. Lloyd Mosby, New York Yankees, 1990. I was thinking shoulders this wide, or this wide. It was amazing. Anyways, so if you look in this area right here, and you're not looking at anything in this, you don't know if you are seeing the center field wall 400 feet away. Are you looking at 400 feet away? Or are you looking, when you're looking through here, are you looking at the sign, or are you looking at 60 feet 6 inches? Are you looking at 60 feet away where the pitcher is? So your eyes are at a completely different focal length there. Not only that, I gave an illustration last week of if you're playing hide and go seek and there was a hallway and you were hiding right here. So you're right here, and someone is coming out to find you, and you see them, and they're walking down here. Okay, eventually, you know how tall they are because you know who's it, right? So they're hiding, counting. Okay, so eventually they're going to get here. You know where they're going to be. You know what they're going to look like. Still, and you hear them walking, you can use your senses, and you know about when he's going to be there. But even though you know about when he's going to be there, and you can hear him, he may come around the corner and go, ha! If he scared you, you'd jump out of your shoes. Okay, you would. You would have no chance there. Now, on the other hand, okay, if you had X-ray vision, and you could see through the walls, you would just be sitting there looking at him come around the corner. Here he comes. And whether they jumped or not, you just go, okay, that's that. Oh, haha, that was funny, you know. And the point is because you could see what was going to happen. So you know when release was going to happen. So it is so important to know when release is going to happen so that your eyes can it can go from here, a soft focus here, out to the release point. All right, so you begin here, and then you go out. Okay, well, how do you know where it's going to be? Well, because you've seen it. I mean, one thing I used to do, and in high school you can't really do it. Youth ball you can't do it unless you get creative. You know, at the major league level there's a lot of room. You know, here's the backstop. You know, home plate's way up here. You know, and on deck circles, you know, over here. So I used to throw the pine tar rag down here. Should I throw it down here? And I just walk down there, and I'm seeing him throw it, and I can see it out of the corner of my eye. And as soon as I reach down to pick it up, I'd take a peek and see it from the front, so I could just get a sense of what I was looking at. All right. As a youngster, home plate's about right here. Okay. So there's really no room back there. So I don't know. If you know, going 4 for 4 is important. You know, I mean, every hit's important. So I would take every advantage. If it was me doing it over again, I would do this. I would literally find an excuse to go and talk to my parents and get a drink of water. I don't know, take just any excuse I could to get out of the dugout and go back here. I don't know if that's against the rules, but I would try it. You know, so I could just see at least one ball. And plus, you need to be watching him warm up in the bullpen. Usually in the bullpen, you can get an angle where you can see the guy throwing, unless they're throwing the other direction. But if they're throwing towards you, you can usually find a place where you can see him from the front or close to it. Either way, you got to see it from the side during the game, and you're watching. And you need to watch if the pitchers during the game are throwing the ball. You know, they throw 180 to 200 pitches a game. You need to synchronize 80 of them. You need to be watching 80 of them so you know when release is going to happen. Okay, the pitchers change, and you quickly make the adjustment to the pitcher. But either way, you soft focus, and then because you know when release is, you know when to go over it. You don't just soft focus and then go over to here early and then get scared, because that's what happens. So let me give you an example. I remember being at the major league level, being in the major leagues, and I remember when I struggled with this, so I can relate to young players struggling with this. You know, you're hitting, and you feel like you got a hole in the bat, and you got 0-2 on you or something, and you decide, okay, I'm going into a no stride. I'm not going to do anything. As a matter of fact, I'm going to wait till I see the ball before I do anything. Now, usually, you know, we used to say, sit till you see it. Got to sit till you see it. And what that would do is, you know, if you relax, it was great because you see it release and then you react to what you see. But if you're in a slump, sometimes you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to wait till you see it. But there's something in you that says, you know, I don't trust myself. And so because you don't have the rhythm of release, because you don't know this rule, this secret of synchronizing release, and that's what these rules are important. These rules are important because they tell you that in every situation what to do and what to think of and how to look at different situations. But I remember being in a game and wait till I see it, and right before he released it, I'd get jumpy. You know, I wouldn't trust myself because, you know, I didn't synchronize the pitcher. And so it didn't come out smooth. So it is important to see it out of his hand, and the only way you're going to see it out of his hand is if you feel when it's coming out, not where. Where is easy. Where is the easiest thing because you already know where it is. Your subconscious knows where. Because, you know what, if you're thinking about it, if the pitcher's standing right here, okay, he's standing right here, whether he's in the stretch or whatever, and you're looking right here, okay, he's not going to be here. If you think this is where his release point is going to be, it's not going to be. Because they're going to stride out, and they're going to be halfway down the mound in a completely different place. So if you think that you're going to get an edge by looking at a place where you think he's going to be, it's not going to happen. But if you can soft focus on the pitcher and just know when, and just keep your eyes on in this area, but soft focus. So, and what you're doing is you're seeing the motion. You're actually looking for the motion. You're watching the motion, the pitcher's motion. You're watching it very closely, but peripherally. That will give you soft focus. And then you just get a sense for when. Now, not only that, but you've been sitting in the dugout and watching him and go, okay, release. Here he is, he's going through it, release. You don't want to, if you don't want anyone to know you're doing it, then you can just kind of, just tap your leg. Here he is, release. You just get a sense of when it is. That way when you go in, you're prepared. I can't tell you how many times I've seen guys go up to the plate and they haven't even tried to sync up the pitcher yet. I mean, they get in the on-deck circle and they don't even know what they're doing. I mean, they're not doing any timing at all. So by the time they get up there, they don't know how to cope with the situation. If you don't know how to cope with the situation, you're not going to be able to see the ball out of his hand. And it's the most important thing is visual performance. Visual performance is directly connected to your timing because, you use your eyes at first and then you use your timing center. It's actually perceived motion. You only see the ball part of the way. But it's that sense of timing between release and when it's going to be in that area. You get information early on, part of the way, and then after that you use your timing center because, you see the ball coming down a line and you just assume it's going to be in a certain location depending on where it began. So yes, visual performance is very, very important. And that's some of the ways that I would go about handling that. Okay? So what's the next one? Let's see. Let me look at some. How important is your bat speed? Oh, that is so important. And how do you generate bat speed? So that's the two-part question. Okay. So let's write this down here. So we keep on track. So let's write first is bat speed. And then how to generate. Okay. So the first part is that what's important is when scouts and recruiters are watching you, a major leaguer is a major leaguer because when people look at him, they expect certain things and they're not disappointed. That's why you're a major leaguer. You're a major leaguer when everybody knows that when you get your pitch, you hit it. You don't miss it. Your coaches know, you know, your teammates know, fans know. Now, when you don't, you're not a major leaguer. So, So there's certain expectation. So to have the bat speed no matter what, and that's something that a major league player has even when he swings and misses. He has good bat speed, unless he's in a horrible slump. So, yes, it's very important to have good bat speed because, sometimes we get hits and they're bloopers, all right? And it's not pretty, but it's a hit and we think it's great. But if you're hitting 350 and hitting a 350 this week, and you have another player on the team that's hitting a strong, a hard 275, and he's just rockets, and it's night and day between the ability, and the ball sounds completely different off the guy that's hitting 275. The guy hitting 350 is always wondering why he's not playing or why he doesn't get the recognition, because people can tell how they hit the ball. It's just you're either hitting it with leverage and precision and getting all that energy into a fine point and hitting in the direction that you're supposed to hit it, depending on how far deep the ball gets. Because there's a direction, and depending on where what position you are, where it should go. And so it's very important to have good bat speed. I would rather, let me give you an example. There are guys, scouts and recruiters you'll see all the time standing behind the batting cage, okay, and watching the guy that they think is a great player. And they'll pop it up, hit a ground ball, hit a line drive, pop it up, whatever. And there's another guy in here hitting maybe 400, hitting line drive, line drive, line drive, line drive, line drive. And they don't pay attention to him. But the other guy, he's got great bat speed, he always does. And he swings and misses, and they say, hey, wait till he hits it. Wait till he hits it. In other words, he gets every benefit of the doubt. And the point is that the high end, they can project you going farther if you have good bat speed. But if you always look like you're disconnected and that you don't know how to generate bat speed, if you don't know how to generate the same kind of bat speed even when you're fooled, okay? So, I teach that you don't necessarily look fooled ever. Granted, you are going to look fooled occasionally, but I know that's contradicting myself, but the point is that even when you're fooled and you have to go out and buy time, that you're going to swing and miss, but you keep your bat speed. If you keep your bat speed, it's just a swing and a miss, all right? But if you kept your bat speed and I'm the catcher, I'm not going to call that pitch again, all right? If a guy takes a swing and has great bat speed on a curveball, I'm not going to hang another one, all right, or whatever it is. But if someone takes, if I call a curveball right down the middle, a lot of times players will complain that all they're getting is curveballs or whatever. And the bottom line is that if you don't take a good approach, it emboldens the catcher and the pitcher to continue to throw it. So you kind of set the stage yourself. So it's important to show well. And the way to show well is to have good bat speed. Okay, so that's in theory. Now, how do you generate bat speed? And let me show you. And I'm also going to show you a little bit about how to look like you have good bat speed even though you didn't hit it. Okay, so in this case, all right. Okay, so first, we're going to hit a ball within range. So here's a ball in range, all right? I didn't hit that ball very good. Let me just try it again. I love this when you walk into a ball. This is something that I did my whole career. You do a walking drill. Now, one thing you notice in a walking drill, you do so much right. In a walking drill, what's happening? Are you going back? No. Are you having 3 or 4 little pieces, step, here, stride, do this? No, it's all one fluid motion. Everything's going forward. You may be closing up. So you may be closing up and your hands may get further back, but all in all, you're bringing everything forward. Okay, so everything's coming forward, nice and smooth. And you generate torque because you're coming forward. All right? So when you get your pitch, smoke it. Another thing I do is I get real close to the ball. So another way I practice this drill is I get real close and work on hitting it with a transfer with a little bit of lag and hitting it off my body. It generally goes the other way, depending on where it is. And then, so I call this within range. So one of the things that you're doing in a drill like this is you're zeroing in on the range. You want to know what it looks like. You want to get the bird's eye view of what does it look like when you place your back foot. Where is it? Well, exactly, right about there. So when I place my foot at about this range right there, I can see it. I can sense it. If you do it enough, you can tell. So if I hear, I'm a little bit farther away right here. But if I get within range, there it is. Okay, so if I get within range, and then I go to swing at it, I know that I can transfer and land in a position to hit it, and it'll be at a perfect range, perfect depth. Okay, second, there is a depth that's a little bit further. So that's something that you practice. Okay, so you walk up to it. Here, let me put this here, I have a little more room. You walk up. Okay, you do a walking drill and you get a little bit further. So this is a little bit further. This is, so that was on time, and this is buying time. On time and buying time. So that is buying time. So The first way we deal with balls that are off speed, that maybe he's throwing at 91 and then he just doesn't get through it. Okay, so if you're on time for 91, and that's where you wanted to hit it, and he throws at 89, that ball's going to be a few feet farther out front. Okay? So the first way you cope with the ball further is you're obviously slightly fooled, so you can't let it travel. That's past. So what do you got to do? And you can't stay up tall and leak. You can't stay tall and leak like this, because that's a leak. You want to keep your energy in the system. So the farther you go toward it, the lower you need to get. Okay? So the farther you go, the lower your center of gravity, and you keep in a nice forward posture position. So if I go a long ways away and I have to go way deep to hit it, shoot, those balls ended up a lot of times being home runs. I asked Wade Boggs one time, I said, how many balls out of the 220 hits a season do you hit on the nose, perfect depth? He goes, maybe 30, 40. And I go, how many balls are you out a little bit, out front a little bit? He goes, probably 60%, the majority of them. The majority of balls that you hit aren't at perfect timing. You're buying time. Players don't even realize it. But it's just, you just hit a little bit further out front. And you end up a lot of times getting even more bat speed because you have a little bit longer bats in the zone a little bit longer. Okay? So that's when you're buying time. Now, so what happens when it's just beyond your reach completely? Well, here's what happens. Swing and miss. Now, that would be a lot better approach, a swing and miss. Going up to this ball right here and doing that is a lot better than doing this. Okay? If I can take a swing and go ahead and do the best I can. Now, I'm not trying to miss this. I've just reached as far as I can and got as low as I could and reached as far as I could, and I missed it. Okay? If I can't hit it, I can't hit it. But I didn't alter my swing. Now, this is very uncomfortable. It's not so you have the urge to hit it at all costs. So one thing that we have to work at is the urge. And I'm telling you, when you get a little too far from a ball, what players will do is they'll go like that all the time. No matter how much you tell them, I'll tell them to swing and miss. Look, I'm going to tell you you're going to be out of reach. I'm saying, okay, you're going to put your foot right there, and it's beyond reach. So I want you to take a swing with good bat speed. Just let yourself swing and miss. I'm telling you, sometimes it takes 5 or 10 minutes because they'll keep going and hitting the ball. I said, I want you to miss and keep your bat speed. And literally, player, it's so ingrained that it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit to want to hit the ball hard at all costs. You have to get that out of you because you need to never compromise your swing. Because what you're going to do by not compromising, by taking a good swing, let's say he threw something off speed and it forces you to buy as much time as you could. You took a great swing. Okay. Now the next time he throws it, you see it out of the hand. 20 seconds later, he throws the exact same pitch. Well, you just saw that same pitch and you experienced a miss. You just experienced it. And you reached as far as you could and you had great bat speed. Okay, so what are you going to do? Well, you'll just let it travel a little bit more because you saw it and then it will actually get within range. Now, it may not get to a perfect range like this, right? It may be a little bit buying time, right? So, you may be way out here still, but you're not beyond reach. You're just out here, okay? So on that one, I had to really kind of go and boom, my foot kind of came a little bit with me, but I stayed in my legs, and I did a transfer return. We call that boom, boom, boom. Not going to get into the boom, 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 but the boom, boom, boom I use because there's not enough time to explain what I mean. Just like when you're out front, there's 15 things you could be doing wrong when you're out front, and your coach is going to say, hey, you're out front, or wait back, stay back. I don't know. They're going to say a whole bunch of things describing the idea of waiting back, staying back. When in fact, and they'll even tell that to pitchers, but you don't actually wait back. You don't actually stay back. On some level, yes, maybe you wait back until it's time, and then you go. But you don't completely wait back and not go forward. And what happens is I went through this too, is I felt like I couldn't gain control of this concept. And no matter what I did, I continued to be out front. I continued to leak. And so what I did was, I thought that the only solution was to try to keep back and not go forward at all. I mean, literally, we know that's wrong. It's not about staying back. It's about being on time, in position, and controlling your forward movement where you have a transfer return, as opposed to boom, boom, and leaking and having a slow return. Just as a little preview of the boom, 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 the transfer where all my energy comes in and boom, it's like spiking the scale. Here's the scale of energy. That's when that's when that pole vault hits the box. Bam. Bam, that's a lot of energy. Bam, bam. Now, at contact, I've got this energy along with all my core energy. The X factor goes bam, bam. And so my core has a high ballistic core turn. It explodes. It goes bam, bam. Okay? So at contact, the second boom is weight into the ball. Your first boom is when the heel comes down and your weight shifts and you block. Okay? Bam. As soon as you block, that's boom. The second boom is weight into the ball. That means all that weight, all that energy, and all the energy from your core rotation gets into the barrel. Just like when you're chopping a tree, you want your weight in the blade, don't you? You don't want to hit the tree with just your arms. You want to hit the tree with your weight. You want that blade to have your weight behind it, like a little ball of energy, the ball of energy of your weight shift into that blade. Okay? So, boom. The third boom is return. Boom, boom, boom. If it's boom, 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 that's a leak. Okay, that's a slow return. So just like they said wait back, stay back, but what they mean is something different. They say it because it's easy to say. They don't have time to say anything else because there's not enough time between pitches in a game or pitches in BP to actually, spell out exactly what they're talking about specifically. So I use that. It's just boom, boom, boom. And those have to be in rhythm. Boom, boom, boom. Whatever tempo you attack with, boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. So whatever it is, whatever speed you're going at, you want to keep your tempo up. And each boom has the same amount of time between it. So in the game, it's real fast, but it's in rhythm. Okay? So in one sense, it's important to keep up your bat speed, yes, because you show that you are a good hitter. You show that you're not going to compromise your swing. So you show that you have the potential to be a higher level player. Now, how to gain bat speed? All right. The problem with there's so many ways. There's so many things that go into this, and this is a bridge too far a little bit to go into tonight because this is something that you have to learn over time. But you have to experience it. You experience it in drills. But let me just quickly try to explain. Okay, if I was trying to throw something, for example, from my black ninja bat, I had hitting Tai Chi, and I use these black little plastic black ninja bats. And you notice how I'm not rotating? Okay? Now, if I were to do the hammer throw in the Olympics, they go like this and they turn around, okay? Now, they're going to lean back against that because something that weighs a few pounds, as they start to generate that all the energy, it ends up weighing a couple hundreds of pounds as they're leaning back against it and generating all that torque. For example, when you're throwing, the ball is only 5 ounces. But to throw it at 90 miles an hour, you have to put 60 pounds per square inch into the ball to throw it 90 miles an hour. Well, if the baseball at 5 ounces ends up being 60 pounds by the time it's released at 90 miles an hour, if you're swinging the bat 90 miles an hour, how much weight is a 2-pound bat? It's going to be a lot heavier, okay? But notice what I would do if I swung a real bat. I'd be leaning back against it, okay? All right, now, if I'm going to throw this bat, whether it's a heavy bat or not, I'm not going to throw it in sections. I'm not going to stride, transfer, and then use my arms and swing it without my weight. It's going to be one flowing motion, okay? Now, I'll be honest with you. Without going into it too far, I shift, and when I get to a spot, I arch out so that I can rotate around a single axis, and I'm not going to let myself get pulled in the direction that I'm throwing it. I have to maintain my posture, which means if I have to arch out against the bat, fine. Another characteristic of this is that I don't necessarily know exactly when my arms are going to swing. Because when you swing, you don't want to swing your bat with your arms super intentionally like that. You don't want to be real overly intentional with your bat. You want to build inertia, build energy, and as you land and as your core starts to fire, your bat drops in the zone, you don't even know when it fires. Your bat gets thrown. Now, if you throw your bat, I'm not saying you swing and let go of your hand or anything like that. I'm just saying that if your bat swings with inertia, I have a drill called circles. And I go in circles like this. And after about the second or third swing, pretty soon the bat starts to swing itself. As I kind of lean back against it and find that place where I'm going to rotate around, I'm not really swinging with my arms. I'm just kind of relaxing my arms. And my arms are completely relaxed. So, for example, I use that drill. Let's say I'm hitting a couple things. Something that people have told me. This is a great question to answer, which I'm adding this into it. I'll add this into the bat speed. The two things in games you do when you pull off. Okay? And what happens is, all right, the two things that you do when you pull off, let me try to get this, well, you know what? I'm not going to let you see it now. I'll bring it up there closer later. The two things that you do when you pull off is, number one, you get your pitch. When you finally get your pitch, you open up, okay? So you chase your face. And another thing that you do, you may be opening your hips too soon. You may be opening your shoulder. Another thing is when you get your pitch, is when you open up, it feels like you don't have any energy to swing the bat, and so you have to struggle to swing your bat, and you can't get the bat out. So doing this drill where you're going close, let's say I'm hitting in a game, and I take a swing and it's not very good, and I pull out, and I feel like I'm forcing my arms through. I feel like my arms, they did not get thrown. I tried to swing them, okay? So imagine being open like this. Okay, so I get out of the box, I open up, okay, I close up, swing across my face, okay, swing across my face, okay, so I'm not opening up now, so I just got the feel of swinging that way as opposed to this way, right? So I'm going to cross my face, but by here, now I'm not even swinging my bat, it's just getting swung. So just a couple swings like this. So I get out of the box, I turn open, one swing, right now my arms are relaxed. And I just let my arms come through. Now, okay, now I just felt the bat swinging itself, and I felt my hands cross my face and my arms cross my face. So I'm not going to open up, and the bat's going to swing itself. Now, do you add a little bit extra and swing? Sure. But when your arms are being swung, you can add that extra little in order to fire it as hard as you can. So you feel that, the natural feel being swung, okay? Now you get up there and, okay, you're not opening up, and you're doing everything right. Okay, so this is kind of a two-part question, but it involves something that you go through when you're in games, how you open up and you pull off, and your swing doesn't feel very natural. Okay? So it is very important that you generate bat speed. You have to find a single axis to rotate around. Okay? So there needs to be a single axis. And then another one is the boom times 3, okay? You cannot leak, okay? Because if you go boom, boom, in return, slowly like that, that means you leaked, all right? You will have no bat speed if you do that, because that means your axis was here, and you were trying to rotate around an axis, and then as you went a little bit further to the ball, you began your rotation here and you ended it here. So you have this large rotation. You started from here and ended up there. So it's a big wobble, okay? That's going to slow your bat speed down. And, okay, that's not to be misunderstood about going forward and transferring your weight. What a major leaguer does, let me just use this little section right here. What a major leaguer does is he gets his weight shift. Let's see if I can get this. Okay, so here's his stance. Okay, here's his bat. All right, so here's his stance. He may end up with his head a little bit lower in this position. Well, his back foot's going to be way back there, so that wasn't very good. But the point is he may end up actually in this position. Let me give you another picture of this. Let me just try it one more time. So here's where he starts. All right. Here's your foot. And you come here. All right. Here's your hands. Here's the bat. Okay, so there's where you start. All right. So let me use another color pin to show you what it would look like. So your head may be here. Okay. That's how it's going to look there. And then by the time you make contact, and there's contact, right? It's not completely to scale, but then the point is, the last point I want to make is that you may stride and create an axis right here, okay? So you're traveling forward, but when you land, as soon as you land, you're actually ready to swing. That's what makes a major league swing in the major league's sense of rhythm and timing so effective. Because as soon as a major leaguer lands, the ball's 15 feet from him, so he gets to continue and go, bam, and hit it, okay? A young player who's not doing that, who takes a stride and waits and then shifts as he's swinging, he's going to be shifting as he's swinging, that's going to create a drift. All right? But if you're doing your transfer first during the timing phase, but under control, the first maybe 25, 30% of your stride, you're under control on your backside riding forward, okay? But then at some point you have to let go. And when you let go, then you just go ahead and let it happen, and you're on time. And then at that point, when you land, that's as far as you go. If you have to go out and buy a little time, then you just get lower. So if you had to reach a little bit further, let's say your head was down here, and you went like that, and your leg went out, okay, you'd be like that. Okay, you'd get even lower, and with a lower center of gravity, you'd be able to reach further out and hit a ball further out front. All right, so that's just how that works. But so you want to find a single axis. So as soon as you transfer and land, that's as far as you go. You don't get to go any farther. All right, that's it. And you need to have your transfer, contact, return has to happen in rhythm so that you're not leaking. If it's not in rhythm, that means you're leaking. You're actually you're going and you're wobbling. If you're transferring while you're rotating, okay, you see, when you land, you've been sideways the whole time. During the timing phase, you're sideways. That draws that line. That's what draws your zone. You're sideways, you land, and that ball's 15 feet in front of you, and you're still sideways. All right? You're sideways. You've drawn your zone, the outside of your zone sideways, and the ball is coming in another parallel line to make 3 parallel lines coming in, not always in the same spot, but or the same line. The pitch isn't always in the same line, and your zone line isn't always in the same place, but they make 3 parallel lines. Either way, you land, and that's it, okay? And that's as far as you go. You may get lower and create an axis that's lower, and you may even find your posture that you're able to hit with. Maybe sometimes you're like this, and your posture's at this angle, like that. And you're even, sorry, supposed to go like that. Supposed to be down, your knees down like that. And then it straightens up later. It'll straighten up later. But so that's how that works, okay? So, yes, it is important to generate bat speed because it shows that you're a good hitter. How do you generate bat speed? You have a single axis. You go in one rhythm. You don't leak, and you don't drift and create a wobble, and you create a good swing timing, that boom, boom, boom. It's a great way to think of it because you don't have to think. But these are all things that you have to know, okay? So you think, well, that would be thinking too much. No, well, you know what? Hitting, you think all the time. You're thinking constantly when you're hitting. You're thinking 99% of the day you're thinking about your moves and you're working on stuff because you know what you're doing. That's why I created these rules, so that you would know what to work on. In other words, you're an actor who's practicing his lines so that when he gets in the play, when he gets in there, he knows what he becomes the part. And in this case, when the only time that you're going to freeze and get in the vapor lock and start thinking is when you're insecure. You're insecure because you don't feel what you're supposed to be doing. If you don't feel what you're supposed to be doing, then you didn't do the work and you didn't practice. But if you've practiced, you know what you're doing. So you're not going to be as nervous, if you're nervous, but over time you won't be nervous. You'll be excited to get up there. Because when you know your lines and you've done your work, your body can just operate like you're hitting soft toss. And when's the last time you froze hitting soft toss? Never. You don't freeze in soft toss. You have this urge to hit. The only time you freeze is when the ball's not where you want it. In other words, your natural instinct kicks in. That's part of the plan. That's part of the making or the raw components of what the plan is. The plan is something that your body responds to intuitively. And once you know how your body operates, then you can design your plan so that it incorporates what you would naturally do. Now, if you're doing some things that you're not supposed to be doing, obviously you need to work on that. And there are ways, there are drills and techniques that you can develop, that you can actually work on other rules that you can work on, and routines and drills so that you can work those out. If you're struggling with a bad habit, we always think, well, how do we change a habit? Well, if you have a bad I can write any other letter. You just think of what's the other movement? Okay, hey, my name's Adam, whatever. You can do whatever you want if you know what it is. You go, okay, I want to swing like this because you know what it is. You can make a conscious decision to swing a certain way. Now, you're not thinking it through. You've already thought it through in little, small, bite-sized pieces, and you've taken the movements and worked on them until you've learned them into one fluid motion. So to write the letter A, I don't have to worry about, I don't have the greatest writing, but the point is that I can write the letter A without thinking about it. Well, I can swing without thinking about it because I know all the little movements and I know how to put them together because I've worked on them. All right? So yes, generating that speed is very important, and to look like you're generating, and these are some of the ways that you generate bat speed. Single axis, boom, boom, boom. You don't want to leak. You do all your traveling, your transfer during the timing phase. Okay, so I hope that helps. All right, so let's go on and move on to another question. I spent a lot of time on that, but that was something that was important. Let's get through a few more of these. So how do I recover from feeling strung out and disconnected when I'm striding? Funny, because we just went over this. When you're strung out and when you're disconnected, it's because your timing's off. When your timing's off and you get out front, yeah, you're going to be strung out and disconnected. That's all that is. If I don't know when to swing, okay? All right? If I'm watching the pitcher, release, contact. Okay? And I'm watching the hitter up there, and he's hitting, and I'm sitting there, okay? And then I go into it. I want to get transferred because that's where I'll be when the ball's 15 feet from me. All right? And then the time you get from here to here is just a split second. All right? So I've worked on it. Well, when I don't have that, and all of a sudden I don't see the ball, and then I go and I have to pause, and I get strung out. The way you connect is first learn the feeling of connection. And that's why I oppose so strongly this unnatural way of syncing up the ball, of striding early, unless you think of striding early as a no stride. But let me just tell you from experience, if I'm standing here striding and I'm going here and I stride early, I'm more often than not, I'm going to be on top of my legs. I'm not going to be into my legs. If I'm striding early, the only way I can actually return from that, because I'm going to be doing a weight shift, here I am, now I'm doing my ride. I've already got my foot down, I'm riding. So I'm gliding on the ground. So I don't have the benefit of riding here, riding. And then however far I get, I just reach out to find the perfect place for it. That's what you do when you throw. You don't know where you're going to end up, so you wait and stride when you go. Okay? And either way, you're going to ride. So if I stride early, stride, ride. You cannot, listen, let me just tell you. I played in the big leagues and I could hit. And if I'm hitting, if you're a young player and you have an early stride, I could have hit with an early stride probably better than you do now. All right? If I go here, stride, and yet I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because there's too much temptation of you're going to leak a little bit. If I was turning a double play, you haven't quite got to the big leagues yet. Maybe you're close. When you get there, you'll know what I'm saying. I would rather think of an early stride as a no stride. Okay? Let's think if I'm going to throw the ball. I'm going to throw the ball. to think that it's shorter and quicker to stride early, I catch it and I stride, okay, catch it, or catch it right here, and then when am I going to go like that? I'm going to end up leaking. If I were to catch the ball, and if I already stride it, my arm's going to leak. My arm's going to leak. And as a hitter, you know what I'm saying. You're going to be striding and swinging, and that's the thing I was explaining that you don't do. You don't want to be striding while you're rotating. You can't do that. You need to get fully transferred, block, and rotate. That's why you stride as you go. So one of the things that you can do is work on that, for example, like the walking drill. So with the walking drill, you're working on being one fluid motion. And your timing is done, your transfer is done, and you swing as soon as you land. What you don't want to do is you don't want to walk up to it, land, and then swing. And the only reason why you would do that is because you're trying to actually simulate the game. Now, in defense of those who stride early, in their defense, if you're going to stride early, all I know is that in the generations before me and up to my generation, there's three types of swings. There's the high early leg kick, which is actually harder because your foot's off the ground. So that'd be like running a race, and when your mark, get set, go. You have to ride a lot longer with more control. So on your mark, get set, go. Well, I'd just rather have my foot on the ground. Your mark, get set. So on your mark, get set, go. On your mark, get set, go. Okay? And if we went to a no stride, we always knew that our issue was leaking and coming up. So what did we do? We got in our stride. We got a little wider. We got down into our legs. You got down low. And you knew you were going to sit till you see it. So as opposed to going forward, you go down. So he goes, release, you lift your foot, release, and then you sit, and that's what gives you that weight shift. A no strider can hit a ball as far as a guy who does a natural stride because he has that freedom of the little fall. Here it is, and then a fall into his front side. That weight shifts, so you get that block return. But if you're going to do a here and hip slide and then swing, you're not going to have the power. Now, how are you going to go boom, 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 boom real quick? Well, the only way you're going to be able, because if I'm hip sliding when I go boom, boom, I'm going to want to keep going. The only way I can get myself to not do it is to do a cheat block. And a cheat block is going and leaning back against it. But what that's doing is that's pulling my head out of the action. And there's no respecting major league hitter that is going to take his head out of the zone when he's hitting. You want to keep your head in the zone and block from that position. So there's an effective way to block from that same position. So the three types of swings, and in defense of an early strider, if a guy's worked it out, that the no or the early stride just becomes a no stride swing. But you have to be careful that you don't go up. Now, that swing that's strung out, if your timing isn't good, so the first thing you work on is you want to work on drills that tend to connect you, like the walking drill. Or another drill is a tall and fall drill. You stand real tall, kind of almost, unnaturally tall that you would in the game, tall, and then fall on it. Okay? That gets your rhythm all in one motion. That is slowly building the inertia. Okay? And that's how you get your body to begin to learn to connect and to use that energy in a boom, 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 all right? Which is transfer, contact, return, all in one motion, okay, without leaking. The next thing is to get your timing down, all right? So you want to start working your swing where you start to feel your inertia, you start to feel connected, you're bringing everything together, connected. See, hands back doesn't mean you send them in another direction without the benefit of the inertia of bringing everything forward. If I was going to take a bat and throw it as far as I could, I wouldn't go forward with my weight and then push my hands back and disconnect them. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to throw the bat very far. Shoot. I see sometimes young players, they get so into the mechanics of this because they don't quite know what it is, and they couldn't throw the bat past second base if they tried because they're so disconnected in their swing, and they're practicing it over and over. So it's very important that if you are an early strider, you need to know that you have a no-stride swing. So you need to take note of the precautions that a no-stride hitter would have, and those are that you're going to go up, that you want to keep from going up, so you want to sit. A good thought would be sit till you see it. So if I'm going to stride early, what I would do is if I wanted to stride early, that's fine, but I'd go here and sit, all right, he's getting ready to throw it, okay, and I'd sit. All right, but it's adding extra movements, and it's not as natural, and you're not able to go out and buy more time if you need to buy time, and that's why it's very limiting. That's why you don't see a lot of major leaguers do it. But you see every now and then, you see players stride early. You look at Bryce Harper. When he first came up, he would stride early. He'd do a no stride. He would do a high leg kick. He'd do a low leg kick. He'd do a stride early. He'd do a no stride. But one thing he maintained was no matter what he did, he would be transferring on time, because your timing is transferring on time. If you transfer your weight on time, that means you have good timing. So whatever he did, even if he leaked a little bit, he still would transfer on time, and he had a great ability to, even if he didn't know when to go and he went early, he would still wait to transfer. And that's something that he did naturally, or that he does naturally. But now you see him with a modified high leg kick almost, 90% of the time. So because he sees everyone around him doing that, that's how you have more range of abilities that way. But every now and then you will see. I've asked so many hitting coaches the same thing, and they say, Nokes, you know major leaguers, they'll try anything. And a lot of times you also have a coach, and it's been filtering into minor league baseball. But you know what? When I'm in an organization and I go in there, there's maybe out of 150 players in there, maybe one guy who does an early stride only part of the time, because you're going to get blown away. You just get blown away because you're doing a hip slide, you're drifting. It's just not going to. It doesn't work. So that's why the best hitters end up doing a natural flow. But if you don't know how to synchronize a pitcher, that's going to interrupt it. And that's why guys go to an early stride, because they don't know what to do. They don't know when to stride. They don't know how to synchronize. They don't know what they're synchronizing. So that's what we teach. And you have to go into it. You have to know what you're learning, and you have to know step by step and break it up into small little pieces so that you know what you're missing. Because you may have 80% of it, but that's not enough. You need to be able to be seen as to what that little piece is. And if you're a coach, you need to be able to look at someone and see what's missing. And the way you do that is you learn the rules. And that's what I've done in this process. I've created a set of rules for this where like when you're calling a game, and I said this last week, when you're calling a game, you don't know you can't. Someone can't tell you, okay, in this situation you want to call this pitch. In this situation, and for every situation there's a pitch. No, there's no way. The variety of situations are unique and infinite. And so if you have a set of rules, though, and when you get in a situation, you can just apply the rules and kind of know, okay, I have a few choices here. I can go this direction, and they don't violate any rules. So, okay, this is my choice. This is maybe the better choice, so I'll go with this. So that's the way it is with hitting, and you find all these little combinations of things that you can make adjustments with. And because you know the rules and you've been doing it for a long time, and these rules are little movement models. They're little models. They're little movements that you learn. They're larger movements that are broken up into smaller, more manageable pieces. And once you do that, then all of a sudden, that's why you can think about it. I mean, I could sit there swinging across my face. I draw a line out of my nose, okay, and perpendicular to my face, I'm going to swing across it, okay? Swing it across my face. I can sit there and do that all day long, across my face. And I do that, pretty soon, that wouldn't feel right. That's not going to feel right because swinging across my face. Now I'm thinking, well, pretty soon, the only way to swing, so even if I get a ball inside, I'm going to want to cross my face, all right? I'm not going to pull off. Now when I get in the game, I may walk up and cross my face a few times on purpose. But that doesn't mean when I go up there I'm going to be thinking crossing my face. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to know what it feels like to swing properly. I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to get the job done because I've worked so hard on the individual components of it. And so my natural reaction, my natural responses will be trained responses. Okay? All right, so what's the next question? Let's see. Let's look at something else that we've written up here. Okay, when I'm swinging at ball, okay, why am I swinging at balls over my head and in the dirt? What should I do? Okay, if you're swinging at balls over your head and in the dirt, then the reason is that, you know, if you're the hitter here, okay, okay, so you're here hitting, all right, and you see here's a pitcher over here. He's in his set with his arms up here and with his elbows holding, getting ready to throw. All right, you're in your stance. If by the time he transfers his weight and goes through his motion, all right, his front arm is here, and then he goes here, here, and then let's say there's another, and then right at release, by the time he releases the ball, so by the time he releases the ball to the time you hit it, all right, if you're not seeing the ball right out of his hand, and this goes back to that other question about how important is it to see it out of his hand. If you are not seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hand, it's important to see the ball out of the pitcher's hand. When you see the ball out of the pitcher's hand, let's draw another one. Okay? I don't know. Anyways, so right out of his hand, if you see it out of his hand, within a few feet of travel, you're going to know right away because you have a line. As a hitter, you're drawing lines. And as soon as, and you can tell, if you draw a line on the outside corner, so if you're hitting and here's the plate, so this is now, I'm in the top view, okay? So I'm going in the top view. So here's the top view. Okay, so let's make him a right-handed hitter now. Here's his feet, here's his head. Okay, so you may be drawing a line. If you have your outside line right there, if you're drawing a line here or wherever it is, wherever you draw your line, let's say you're drawing the line on the outer half. I can tell, and you can too, as soon as you start doing this, as soon as you draw a line, you can literally tell if it's crossed that line. You got one ball. Is it on the outside of the line, or is it on the inside of the line? You literally know. That's why a good hitter can tell if the ball's 3 inches outside, because if he's drawing a line on the outside black, and the ball is actually on the outside of that line, then he knows that ball's off the plate an inch or two. You know, that's how they zone so well. Now you say, well, how do you create lines? Well, you know what? A 5-year-old creates lines when they're getting soft toss. When you're getting soft toss, the coach may be over here throwing the ball like this, okay? And let's say you got a 5-year-old here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old you are. After you see a few tosses, that 5-year-old, without even knowing it, you don't have to explain it to him, he expects the ball on that trajectory. His mind just conjures it up. So that's what the line is. It's your expectations of what the ball is going to look like. And so if you were throwing a 5-year-old balls, he would expect it, and he would attack that area, that line. He would attack it so he's in good position to hit that ball. Now, if all of a sudden you threw it over here, that 5-year-old is not going to swing. So when you say you're swinging the balls over the head or in the dirt, those are radically offline. That means you have no line, and you're not seeing the ball out of the hand. So really, that's enough. That's all I need to say about that, is that you should be quitting immediately on balls over your head and in the dirt. Okay? So let's go on to the next question, because I think I've answered that in other ways. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let me see what we got. Okay. Okay. So where should my back elbow be? All right. As far as the back elbow, let's get rid of this. I shudder to think what my drawing would be, trying to draw a back elbow in position or something. Okay. So what do you do about the back elbow? Okay. First of all, there's so much controversy over this. It's ridiculous, because the arms work by being folded. It's folded. You don't want to do this, okay? You don't want to move your arms like this, okay? You want to fold them, just like swinging a hammer or whatever. But you want to keep your arcs real short as possible. So first thing you do is square your grip. Once your grip is square, then you fold your arms. So you hang your arms plumb. Okay, you can fold your arms plumb. Plumb means a plumb bob in construction is just a string with a weight on the end of it. And they just hold it, and that's how they know what perfectly vertical is. So you let your arms go plumb, all right, to give your arms some room. You don't want to be standing like this because now they're out here, okay? So let your arms hang so that they'll get straight. But I want them to get straight without holding them straight. I want them to just relax and get straight. But you need to know that they need to be straight. So if it takes a little bit of effort to straighten your arms, then you need to straighten your arms. All right. So and then you want to hold your bat square. Now, if you're having trouble holding your bat square, keep your hands together. But look, you push with this hand and pull with this hand. But you don't ever want to get real handsy and lose stuff in your grip. You want to keep your grip square and firm. Okay. So here's your grip. All right. And I can just add just a little bit in here, because you lose 90% of your energy in your hands. Because what young players want to do is they don't know how to line up their levers. Look, I can keep my bat square like this. Okay? Square here. Right? And I can go from here. And I can come all the way through and keep it square and get completely inside the ball. And I don't even have to go way in. Look. So I'm here, I'm way down low so you can see me up close, all right? So I'm square, boom, here, all right? I can keep them square as long as I bring my elbow into the right place, keeping the barrel above my hands, all right? The key with the back elbow is that you have to orient the back wrist to compensate for whatever the back elbow is doing. Like Albert Pujols, you see he's way up here, but you notice his wrist is overly cocked, all right? Because when he goes to hit, he does this a little bit, he comes here, and then he starts to go. Well, he comes from way up here, and he brings his elbow all the way through, okay? But if you're up here and you got your fist turned the wrong way, and you brought your elbow all the way in, and now what? Now it's at the wrong angle. It's weak, okay? And even if it was strong there, it's going this direction when you want it to go that direction, all right? So it's almost a feeling of palm forward as you're coming through in your approach, and that's what keeps the barrel up and above the hands. The barrel doesn't drop until you go into your release phase, or in your approach phase, you haven't even fired your arms yet. this arm is closer to your body here, and your elbow, wherever it starts, it's got to come down through, and you have to compensate with your wrist. Okay, so your wrist, so you have to know your angles. Now, it's going to be kind of hard to swallow, but watch this. Wherever I start, I fold my arms up. Now, take a look at this. Right here is where every major leaguer. Now, one thing I don't want you to do, don't ever rest your bat on your body, because then you're losing control of the bat. The whole point of this is to have actual ongoing control. And so in other words, you want to know how to continually orient your wrist and your elbow. So you need to keep control of the bat. You keep it square, you fold it up, you have it right here. Okay, it's just slightly off my back shoulder, and it's not on my back shoulder, okay? So this is about how everybody hits, right about from here. You say, well, that's not where everyone hits from. Yeah. Well, this is how they're oriented. Now, from here, it looks like my elbows are down, okay? All right, but watch. If I get my hands out, starting to look up a little bit more. Back, here, wherever I hold them, it's starting to look like my elbow's up. Okay? See that? But watch. It's really here. They're really in the same position. It's oriented. So this is the pumping action, folding and unfolding, and this is the cocking action, but you never lose how you're oriented. So no matter where I hold it, it's really just here. If I just fold them down, it's really in this position. So no matter where a guy goes, he has to unfold. If he's way up here, that's fine. But he's going to have to unfold. He's got a long way to go to unfold them and bring them back into this position, okay, where he can unfold and get on plane and release the barrel, all right? But you do it with a little bit of weight, so you have a little bit of lag, okay? So as far as the back elbow is concerned, what players do is they just place their back elbow where they're comfortable doing it without feeling the reason why they're doing it. Okay, so if you want to know how to work with that, a good way you can do that is to, you know what, here's a drill that's great for you. Just get a plastic, one of these play balls and a big old Fred Flintstone, little bat right here, and try to hit the ball and try to keep the barrel above your hands, And I did this thing called tree ball. Now, I'm not going to get into it, but it's basically learning how to swing with your hand with keeping a square bat. Now, what this is it had a little bit of backspin on it. I'm not actually releasing it this way. I'm releasing it to square, and as soon as it gets to square, it makes contact just before square. It makes contact to get the backspin, and then I just let my arm go down. So I release it and hit it, and then let my arm relax. Okay? And what I did, and that now when you hit, you don't do that. I mean, you don't keep it square unless you're practicing your square swing. Okay? So your square swing is going to look like this. All right? It's something that you do when you're on deck circle because you want to work. All good hitters have a good square swing. They can do a square swing, and it's an approach feeling, it's an approach drill or approach movement, so that your hands are so that the barrel's above your hands the whole way, but you're only thinking about approach. This is all approach. The bat is never in my hitting plane. This whole swing, the bat, it never drops into the hitting zone. It remains in the approach angle. The approach angle is the barrel above the hands. But I'm getting a little bit of a release. And when you break the movement down, now, what young players are going to want to do is they're going to want to go like that and release it all the way, and it just doesn't look right. Okay? So it is something that you need to learn. I can help you with that. But you'll notice, I can even notice when I see players that are minor league players and they've had a cup of coffee. When they get a cup of coffee, I can tell the difference when they've been in the big leagues, even for a little bit, because you'll tell them to swing like swinging at a high ball. Guys who haven't played in the big leagues will swing like this They'll literally swing like that. Okay? Watch. They'll swing like that. Guys who played in the big leagues will do this. Bam. They'll take a practice swing like this. So here's the high ball. The high ball is right here. So the way you would hit it would be, I have to get down real low, but you hit it like a high ball right there. And you drop down and go bam. Keep the barrel above the hands. Hit it like that. Now what's crazy about that is the barrel. I tried to keep the barrel above my hands. I felt like the barrel was above my hands the whole way. But when you slow that down on video, I was here, and then right at contact, I'm there. I'm still. The barrel is always going to get below the hands when you hit it. Okay? But what's scary is that this approach angle, the reason why the big leaguers do it is because there's more leverage here. There's more leverage when the barrel's above your hands. Now watch this. Even when I'm here, my barrel is still above my hands. You go, no, they're not. They're below your hands. Oh, yeah? When I stand up straight, they're still above my hands. And it's because of this rotation, this core turn and everything, when in fact, if you orient yourself, it's still up. So that's a little off the beaten track, but it is a small part of this. And it's all about orienting your hands right and knowing where they need to be and getting them through. When you bring your elbow through, your wrist has to be at an angle where your hands will release in the zone, okay, where your hands will release like this. If you come through, if your elbow is like this, and then you come through and your hands are like that, well, the only way I can release is this direction. You're never going to hit a ball. You're going to hit balls like that. And that's losing the barrel, having a floppy barrel, so you're never going to hit. So you always have to learn that. Another way is just a very simple, easy drill of just throwing the ball up and hitting it one-handed. All right? Now, there's some things you have to think about with this one-hand drill is what I like doing is I don't like throwing it up. I like leaving it in my hand and moving my arm as if I threw it. So watch. I lift my arm and then drop it at the speed of gravity. Lift it and drop it. Lift it and drop it. So as I go forward, okay, the ball's going forward. Because what I don't want to do is throw it up in the air, and then I go forward, and then by the time I get to it, I'm jamming myself, okay? So if I can hold it, so as I'm going forward, it's coming forward with me, so I can keep it in one spot. And then all I do is hit it out of my hand. As soon as I hit it, my hand moves. Oops. Right? For the right-hander, you stand here. Here it is. And the other thing that you notice is watch what my arm does. I was trying not to hit this. Watch what my arm does after I strike it. Where does it go? Well, what you don't want to do is you don't want to strike it and then finish up here. That's not natural. You're going to hurt your shoulder. You want to hit the ball, hopefully with the barrel above your hands. Now, it won't actually do that. It'll be here, but that's how it'll feel. And you want to hit it, and then you want your arm to relax and go where it wants to go naturally. Watch. When I hit this ball, it should finish. This is natural. If I hit it, it goes this way, okay? If I hit it, and then just let it and roll over and get it down here. Okay, that's where it wants to go naturally. See, my arm is completely relaxed right now. It's relaxed, and it's safe down here. If I start going like that, it's an unnatural place for your arms to rotate through, which is why when you swing, which is why your swing is it's just below your shoulder to shoulder, and there's no such thing as a real high finish here. The swing is always flat. It is up here, but because I'm at this angle, you draw a line through my shoulder. Yeah, I may end up over here at this angle. It may look high, but it's not. It's still flat. It's going in the same plane as my core motor. So it's going, so however sharp my shoulder is, it's going to be at that angle flat. All right? But what you see what major leaguers do is they swing, boom, and square their bat up. And what you're seeing is the barrel up. Now, granted, you look at the Prince fielder, and I've watched over and over, and I've drawn the line at his shoulders, and when he makes contact, he'll hit it. As he releases the barrel, it is way below his shoulder, all the way to about here. And then he gets right about here. I'm sure he's got a lot of muscle in here, and he's a barrel-chested guy. So as soon as he gets right about here, there's probably not a whole lot more room. So right about here, he just releases the tension by coming up, and then intentionally does that. Okay, so it's here and then this way. All right, so you have to force the bat off of this plane. Okay, you're going to see major leaguers swing along the core line of their, the bat plane is along the core. And so that's why swinging and then finishing up, it's just ridiculous. Why would you want to swing this far and then come to a stop and finish high? Why would you want to go this and go that way? That's taking half a swing. It's swinging here. I'm just going to swing upper body, okay? So if I went here and swung to there and then finished high, instead of going to here and then finishing my swing, okay, I can get good bat speed doing that, but I can't get any bat speed going like this. Okay, there's no bat speed going. Plus, you're coming in so sharp and coming down, you're just swinging a big check mark. So your swing is literally going to be right here, just below your shoulders, through your core motor, yet because they're leaned over, they are going to literally be at this angle. So my arm, if I let go of the bat, yeah, my arm is going to be up here. It's going to look high, but it's not high. Okay, it's a flat shoulder plane, core motor path swing. That's how you get the bat speed. Look, if I'm going to swing, here's the bat speed. Okay, why would I do this? There's no bat speed going like that. The bat speed is going in the direction that my core is going. It's coming this way. My arm wants to swing this way. And major league players swing down here, guys. Major league guys hit the ball down here. You see a lot of young players swinging up here. I swear, you throw them balls and they'll literally swing up here. What major leaguers do, because they know the power of keeping the barrel above the hand, they're not worried. They'll keep their hands down here. They may hold their hands here, but as they go to swing, their arms relax, and the bat gets... Look, if I hit a ball this high, I'm not like that. I'm down here, and my bat's going to come through the zone at whatever angle it needs to be on. You draw a straight line through my shoulders, and my bat is going to be just below my shoulders. All right? So that's one of the myths, that high finish is a myth that our industry needs to expose as a myth, and I've been doing it for some time now. But it destroys players. It gives them checkmark swings. It gives them, you see a player finish high because that's what you think, and that's what you're looking for. But I can prove to you that not one big leaguer, not one, and everyone's going, oh, come on, there's got to be one guy that does it. Nope, they don't. You can always draw a line at the shoulder level, every one of them. You can draw a line at the shoulder level on every swing. Now, if a guy takes a horrible swing, you'd know it anyways. And if it was a bad swing, you wouldn't want to be doing it like that anyways. But so if that happens, you're going to be at the wrong angle. But if you look, every big leaguer, you look at the shoulders and draw a line, right at contact, draw a line through their shoulders, and you'll notice that their bat, through release, sometimes they'll peel off just before they get to here. But more than often, it'll get to here and then square up, and then their hands will come up, all right? And it's usually just to release some tension. Mike Piazza would go, he'd come here, it'd be underneath, and then he'd come up like that. There are players that do it, but it's more releasing tension, because as soon as you get to here, you start, you have a lot of strength in here, your shoulders coming down, and your chest, and your arms. As soon as they get to here, okay, they run out of room. all right, okay, let's finish up here. But that's not that your swing is still being done through here, all right? And that's not high. And some players get a notion that the swing is supposed to be high, and so they drop it down, and they're finishing up. They're more concerned with finishing up than actually swinging and hitting the ball. And it's like, putting something on the refrigerator and saying, look, at least I did this. It's like sitting on Dad's lap and pretending that you're driving, playing with the knobs, thinking that you're driving. Oh, look, I'm playing with the radio. Hey, I'm driving, playing with the windshield wiper. You're not driving. You're playing around in the driver's seat. So just because, okay, I squished the bug. Hey, I'm swinging now. Look. I opened my hips prematurely. Look, I rotated my hips. I haven't swung yet, but I rotated my hips, and I finished high. I accomplished a few things. Well, imagine the power of the rules when you know the correct rules. And even though if you've had an experience where you have done, I'm sorry, I'm like, okay, I just had a question here that I had to read. Sorry about that. So, if you've seen guys swing like that, or if I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. No, pardon me. Anyways, let's go to the next one. We're running over. It's 8:13. This has been great. Last question. Let me see what we can write up here. Okay. Let's go over this. Last question is, okay. When you're making, okay. Sorry. I didn't write that right. Okay. I'm making contact but not hitting for power. How do I hit for more power? Last thing, I'm not going to go into this other than saying this. If you know how to hit, you do hit for power. You're going to hit. Power is relative. I would venture to say, and I would take a risk in saying, that if you know how to hit, you're a power hitter. Now, a power hitter for you would mean hitting, when you're young, it could mean hitting doubles, long singles, or something like that. Shoot. If you hit the ball really hard, you can hit a single off the wall. I can tell you, I did a lot of those. I didn't run real fast, but I'd rattle the wall and get a single. That was something we joke about. But the point is sometimes that's all it is. But that's still hitting for power. People know you as hitting for power. It sounds completely different off of your bat. What I'm saying is, if you know how to hit, then you can take a lot of energy, and point it into a fine point and get all that energy into the ball. It takes 8,000 pounds per square inch to hit a ball 400 feet. But if you have 15,000 pounds per square inch of energy, and it's all going in different directions, and you hit the ball 380 feet. But if you just shortened up a little bit, just like if you were swinging a hammer and the nail bent, you wouldn't take a bigger stroke. You would just look at the nail and just take a more accurate stroke, and that's how you make your adjustments. You make your adjustments because you see more of what's going on. You're beyond mechanics. How can you come to a point where you're beyond mechanics? You come to that point because you've worked the smaller, more manageable movements to a point where you just know how they work. And they become instinct, they become natural. You change habits by learning the movement that isn't your habit. It's not about correcting the habit. It's not about focusing on what you do wrong and trying to fix it. If you can accept this, you don't ever worry about your old habits. You don't ever worry about your old swing. You don't ever worry about your flaws. Forget your flaws. Focus on what your job is and learn those movements. And yeah, maybe your old swing is in there somewhere, but whatever your focus is, that's what you're going to do, especially if you've learned the right way and you have just as much ability to swing correctly as you do incorrectly by whatever you set out to go and do. If I set out to do a certain thing, I'm going to do it if I know how to do it. Now, if I only sort of know how, I'm going to struggle. Okay, so anyways, we answered a lot of questions there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. if you're not signed up, or if you have friends that you want to pass us along and share them with you, sorry about, I'm only going to say this once, but last week we crashed and my wireless mic didn't work and my high-def camera didn't work, and we were streaming at half the information. This Spreecast isn't designed to actually stream in HD yet because they have to open up the ports so that they can it's designed to allow people to converse. So you guys, hopefully at some point are going to come on and ask questions and actually show me what you're doing so I can actually break your swing down. What you're really going to get a lot out of is if you can show me what's going on in your swing, whether you use a Black Ninja plastic bat and show me your swing or whatever's happening and what you feel and how you want to make the corrective movements, I will help you with that. It's easy. It's common sense. And you'll get to that point once you learn the rules that I'm going to share with you.